been sure about a thing in my entire life. Hey, apparently we're live here on the internet
On the
Um,
internets.
https://www.linkedin.com/in
That's what we're doing.
That's
/JDAMPEEK.
perfect.
Okay. Okay.
That's perfect.
Could you make it longer?
Yeah.
I told you I didn't have an intro.
Yeah, that's
That one's
good.
great.
really
Yeah,
good.
you should stick with that.
That was pretty awful, actually.
Yeah, on a scale of like 1 to 10, I give it a solid -3.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about
So-
if we add some of
Oh, you gotta have
There.
one.
Let's
You
go.
That got it.
Andy and I normally just use our malice to make that sound. So when we're doing
Uh-huh.
anything.
Well, you got to get a
Is this,
soundboard.
is this
so you
it?
can just-
Is this all we're doing?
yeah,
No,
that's it.
I think our sounds add a little bit more love to it, but
Yeah.
They do.
They're handcrafted.
yeah, they're not
Artisan.
commercial like you, Adam.
I am. I sold out. I sold out to the man. I really did.
Sold out to sound effects. I get it.
I did. I only use auto tune when I sing.
Little T-Pain
Oh,
action.
man.
There you
Yeah.
go. That's
Got it.
fine.
It
Yeah.
takes
Fine.
it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to use your own voice.
It
Mhm.
does. And speaking of which, Tim Drisdom is, I would argue, the best singer in the group here. Tim is is a gospel singer.
Wow.
True story.
Oh, that's funny.
And hey, what's going on? We got Kevin Matthews jumping in here. I invited a bunch of people from Myers.
Oh
So
boy.
Kevin, thanks for
Nice.
jumping on. So here was my idea, and I put it out on LinkedIn, and people responded. So I thought, well, I better just do this. So Tim, is new to printed packaging world. Like me, like I took a normal path. I became a pastor, and then went into printed packaging, like most people, Andy and Kirk
Yeah.
included.
Yeah.
Sure.
No, yeah, pastor of something, I'm sure.
Spaghetti
But,
monster. That's my.
Let's not go
Flying
down that
spaghetti
rabbit
monster.
hole right now, Kirk Visola.
Wrong podcast.
So Tim has Tim has a really awesome background that was not in packaging through professional athletics and music and all sorts of things. But I thought, well, why don't I just go live on the internet? I won't say the entire web address again, and just introduce Tim to people that I know and love and respect in the industry. And you can share some of your knowledge with him. He can ask you some questions. We'll talk for 15 minutes or longer if we're having a really great conversation. And then
The intro is going to take 15 minutes, so
bro.
I'm just saying.
Kirk is
I gotta
killing
set
you,
up the
bro.
whole thing. I got to set up the whole thing.
He's got to give context.
Andy,
Wow.
why don't you introduce yourself since you're not being
Sure.
obnoxious to me?
That's often what I do in these situations when I'm with Kirk. I just sort of stay quiet, wait to get called on. My name's Andy Kurtz. I'm the creative director and founder of Buttermilk Creative. We are a packaging design studio for specialty food and beverage brands. My background is real quick. Started Buttermilk about 7 years ago. Before that, I worked in-house at a grocery store, specialty grocery store, running their in-house design team. So different from Adam and Tim in that I've been in this industry for a long time. I feel like that's how I can bring a lot of expertise to the packaging design discussion. So Kirk, I'm going to pass it down to you.
Wow, man, that was impressive, Andy. I'm Kirk Visola. I'm the founder and creative director of Mind the Font, and I feel like saying, and I'm here with my good friend Andy Kurtz, but he already introduced himself. I pretty much do the same thing Andy does, just a lot less cool and better. My background is I got into graphic design a long time ago, and I started a design studio with my ex-wife, and then I went to worked places like Pure Red Creative, which specialize in circulars and like all kinds of newspaper ads and things of that nature. So from that printed standpoint, but also getting into ads and everything in electrical standpoint, and then went to work for E&J Gallo and did packaging there. But ever since I started, I've been doing packaging for over 20 years. So it's been a minute. So I don't know as much as Andy, but I do like to have a lot of fun doing this. So let's talk about it.
Yeah. Tim, your turn. You get to do your intro.
Well, I'm Tim Drisdom, and I've been in the packaging industry for all of maybe more than 20 days, give or take. I'm excited to be in this industry. Adam brought me in, and just really excited to learn and grow through these opportunities to talk. And like I said, my background, Adam kind of mentioned it kind of before the show, but played a little bit professional basketball, college basketball. And then I'm also in the music industry in the Christian and gospel genre mostly. So that's kind of I live in a lot of different worlds, and I'm glad to be in this one. So excited to learn a lot about what you guys have to share today.
And what is your role at Myers, Tim?
Yeah, so I'm just one of the sales reps. I mostly in Utah, but in a couple of other West Coast states. So just getting started in the sales rep.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, Kirk, Randy Nash says hi.
Oh, what up, Randy? She's awesome. I love Randy.
Sweet.
She's got a superfood coming out, like a superfood bar or superfood bites. So
Nice.
keep an eye
Nice.
out. Yeah.
Nice,
Sweet.
Randy. If you need some packaging, hit up
Yes.
Tim Drisdom.
Hi, Randy.
Timothy.drisdom@myers.com. And that's a wrap. We're done.
We are done.
So, Andy and Kirk, I thought, like, coming from, like, this is the first one we've done of this, so appreciate you kind of like swimming in the shades of gray, the 42 shades of gray here.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
But
Bondage not included.
oh dear.
What do we get into?
So what would you sweet Randy says, all right, she definitely needs some packaging. So
Nice.
Randy, we'll reach out. So whenever you're talking with, maybe it's a brand owner or someone who's like brand new to packaging, what's some advice that you give them, either from like a design perspective or like the importance of design when it comes to the packaging industry, knowing what you know about Myers, right? We do retail displays, labels, and folding carton boxes primarily.
I can start. So what I usually with our clients, they've already invested a lot of money in some sort of production line or facility or something, or working with the co-man. So they sort of have that format, whatever it is, setups, whether it's it's a carton or a pouch bag or whatever it is. And usually when they come to us, it's more of obviously adding design to that structure, but then also potentially alternatives or options. And that's really, I mean, honestly, since I met Adam and he joined the team at Myers, I send all my sort of carton shipper display questions to Greg over there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a great resource. So I think that's really, it's like they have this sort of sketched out idea, rough idea of what they need and want, whether it's driven by a manufacturer or their internal workflow. And then they just need us to sort of help fill in the gaps and then reach out to vendors who can actually fulfill those. The things, the formats.
Yeah, and I think it's good to reiterate that Andy mentioned something very important, just from the brand standpoint of having a co-packer or a co-man and also a name. Like those things should always be done before you even get into the packaging idea of things, because that really lays the foundation for how your brand strategy will work and everything else. And when you go to talk to a packaging buyer, be sure you have this thing called die lines, which is kind of for like us packaging people, so we know exactly what we're designing to, whether the pouch is 4 inches or 6 inches by whatever. It really helps us give us an idea of how we can maximize your potential for aesthetic, but also for just printing well. Know the number of colors that they want to use. It could be a 4, it could be 10, it could be 12. Know the type, like is it flexo, is it whatever. So there's all types of little intricacies in there that need to be taken care of. And usually designers, like Andy said, I heavily rely on my printer to let me know what's up, what I can and can't do. So that's also nice to have, to make sure you set up a conversation between your designer and the people you're using for print. Myers. When you use Myers.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're not the only printer, right? Like, you don't have to. Sometimes we get commercial for Myers, although.
Hey, why not?
Well, yeah.
I'm trying to. There's supposed to. All the Myers team is supposed to be there, so I'm trying to kind of,
So far, we know Kevin is here, and,
All right.
and myself and Tim,
All right.
and then we've got Seth, who's a big basketball fan. I believe the University of Tennessee, though, not the University of Utah. Not a rivalry there. Not a rivalry school.
It's
All good.
I want to piggyback off what
Yeah.
Kirk was saying about the partnering with your printer and your salespeople, and like really understanding not only on like active projects, what those parameters are for what you're working in. Y'all are great resources, just printers in general are great resources in developing die lines and boxes and templates and all that kind of stuff if they don't already have that. And then also just understanding new offerings, so like as a salesperson, obviously you're going to inform us and say, hey, we have these new samples. We just produced this really cool thing for this client that you don't work with, but might apply to your clients. That's always, we love samples. We love learning about new offerings and all that kind of stuff. So what's really nice about, having the designer as your connection is that they will then, sort of that will become part of their process. Their creative process is whatever, new, process that you all have come up with. Like, now we can do spot varnish or, die cuts on demand or whatever. Like that'll immediately plug into our process and we'll start working it into all our projects.
Yeah, and it's also important to mention too that as designers, whenever you say this to a designer, I don't know what I want, or just do whatever, it doesn't help us that much. I personally like to think inside the box, because inside the box there's myriad options for what you can do. It's an infinite amount of options you can do, but you need to know the parameters of the box in order to make sure that it works well. So that's exactly what Andy just said.
Awesome. We did have a couple other folks from Myers. Rachel. What's up, Rachel? Rachel's
Hey, Rachel.
And Lee. Lee is a former. Lee ran Flexo label presses, and then got into sales. So he's got a really fun background. Those are great points. What would I'll let Tim maybe follow up here with a question after this one, but so obviously you kind of talked about there's sort of the flow of information back and forth between a designer and a printer. Do you ever have printers coming to you like, hey, we just got this art file from this company, can we put them in touch with you? Like, it's not laid out right, or we're kind of questioning if this is even printable. Like, do you ever get into those conversations from a printing perspective, or no, not really?
No, the pre-press departments in print houses they're amazing. If you've done pre-press, and you've done pre-press before, right? Mm-hmm. So you can speak more towards this than anybody, or than I can, but they're the ones that catch your mistakes and when you mess up something, if you send a file. So a strong printer has a great pre-press department. And so if a printer is coming to you to ask for what's wrong with this file, you should probably look for another printer.
Got it.
That's just so. Anybody at Myers, do not ask the designers or anybody else. Like, figure that stuff in house, because it should be done in house. Andy, you gonna say something?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think yes, from a technical standpoint, that's so. Like, if you're thinking about who you partner with at your printer, it's the salespeople first, and then it's your rep, and then it's the pre-press production people, and keeping them as happy and as like much information as possible, because the last thing you want to do is piss off a production person, and be like, because we're all it's human. I think exactly, and I think there might have used to have been, maybe there still is, some kind of hierarchy of designers, where like if you're a designer or a production person, a pre-press person, somehow the creative designer is better or something. But in no way, maybe it's because I've worn both hats, but in no way is that, I mean, sometimes I've talked to pre-press people before and they're just like, this is what I love. I love getting into the file and really cleaning it up and being very analytical about it, versus having to be like super conceptual creative. It's just not their strong suit. So I love chatting with pre-press people. Now, to also piggyback on your question, Adam, I have had printers that I've worked with aesthetically ask me, hey, we feel like this sort of brand is falling flat. And like it's almost like they're about to invest a ton of money in printing this look, and we just don't feel like it's right. And can you talk to them about it? Now, generally those conversations go nowhere, because if it was bad design to start with, they might have, hired somebody and did it on Canva or something. And, but yes, I have had that a couple of times, asked, from an aesthetic standpoint.
Aesthetics. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah. And the pre-press team at Myers is great. It was more like, not like, how do we technically execute this, but like, we keep getting designs from this designer and they're awful. Would Myers go like they're just laid out weird? Like we have to spend a ton of time in pre-press. Would you ever have somebody like Myers come to you and be like, can we introduce you to this brand? Because we know that Andy and Kirk are great. We always get like basically press ready files from them. I didn't know if you ever had that kind of flow of information. Was kind of I totally agree on the pre-press front, on the technical stuff. We really don't do a lot of subjective, like, hey, we're not really sure if this is going to print. It's like I made the video about papyrus font. Like, we'll print the freaking papyrus font labels. Like, no one's going to say, like, we don't print Comic Sans, all right? We're putting we're putting our foot down in the sands.
Yeah.
Like we'll still print it, but more just from a like, these guys are kind of like, whoever their designer is not really great at laying it out. So that, I just didn't know if you had ever had that come back to you that way.
Well, I think too, real quick, there's a lot of the new designers who are coming in. They're doing a lot of digital work and don't do a ton of print or packaging.
Yeah.
And so print and packaging lays out differently than it would for digital, because digital sky's the limit. But print, even though over the years has gotten so much better, especially with digital printing, you still have to know the parameters of what a actual printer can do, a press can do. So yeah. But did Tim have a question for us?
Yeah,
it's interesting. Yeah, no, you guys have first of all shared a lot of really great things.
Of course we have.
And I think,
that's how we roll.
Well, this is why we're here. But no, I had a question. I think it kind of got answered in a couple minutes ago with Kirk, and that was, as a designer, how much information do you really like? How much creative control do you want to start with when you're starting a project? And you kind of laid it out and said that you don't just want somebody to come to you and say, hey, just do whatever you think. I'm not sure what I want, that sort of thing. Because as I'm thinking about it, I have a potential customer coming up whose brand is pretty recognizable. And they're probably going to want some things done on the design front as well. And so just thinking about how to approach them with what it is that they're looking for, so that we would be able to come back, reach out to a designer and say, hey, here's what they're looking for. I've been in the design world only to, we had an album that we did a while back, and we had to design a logo. We had to design artwork for the CDs back at that time. And then coming to this particular conversation, it sounds like those worlds are kind of similar. Like, give me something, give me some parameters. Like you said, I kind of want to work within the box. So, no, that was you kind of answered the question that was kind of ringing in my head.
Well, that's good. I think Tim just wanted to drop the fact that he made an album. That's all that was.
It was. Yeah, it was.
I'm gonna exit the conversation.
Yeah. Usually brands, especially well-known brands, have strategy. Have a strategy. They have standards. And they usually have guidelines. But also they do creative briefs for you. Like, this is what we're trying to do. Here's the brief. Here's what's laid out, and they give you all the parameters of what the feel should be. Not necessarily how it should look, how you should design it, but overall what they're going for. And I think that helps too, when you really have the brief laid out, creative brief. If you have any standards or guidelines from that brand that you can give to the designer, so it all looks like it jives together when they make something, as opposed to just doing something totally different, unless they want something totally different. And that's the cleaner and more clear that a brief or explanation of how you're supposed to do something, the better and easier it is to do a design. That's how I feel about it.
Sweet.
Yeah. I would agree. You're generally going to get a. Oh, we lost Tim.
I offended him. I'm sorry, Tim. I didn't mean it. I was just kidding.
I can't believe.
F this.
I can't believe you just booted him from the conversation.
Well, I do have my secret. Was it StreamYard power?
Oh,
like Obi-Wan almost. You guys can't tell, but I was using the Force to boot him off.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks. That would be the most abrupt way to end this. I'll see if he's going to jump back on.
It's just like, I'm out.
He just.
Yeah. Well, like the thing for me is whenever I'm done, we used to do this meeting every week with some friends, and I would just literally close my screen, and that would be it.
Just leave.
Like, yeah. It was the textbook definition of the Irish goodbye, but.
That's opposite of the South, where it's like, okay, bye, see ya. All right, talk to you later. Okay, we'll see you later. Okay, bye, okay, bye. That's what we do.
And then you walk out to the car together. That's the worst.
Yeah,
When, like, you say bye to someone at like a restaurant, and then you find out you're parked next to each other, like all the way in the back of the parking lot, and you're like, hi. I don't have a whole lot more to discuss with you.
So, yeah.
So the weather. How about that global warming? Let's see. We had Lisa come in here. We'll see if Tim's going to come back on. If not, we can wrap it up. Sustainability has obviously been a hot button topic for responsible packaging, recycled materials, and even I put up a video of like a Pantone color printed on the exact same offset press with the exact same plate with the exact same ink, and it looks totally different on SBS, clay coated craft back, clay coated news back. So, if you are moving towards like sustainability, it's important to get those. It's important to get like drawdowns and stuff like that. I'm guessing you all work a lot with with that.
Yeah, and it's also important too, like having a good printer. They'll let you know if colors aren't right, and if you can, do press checks. It sounds like it's a pain in the butt, but get a way to get there and be on press, because it used to be, this is crazy, but it used to be when you were working on presses and you had to change plates or change ink, it would take hours, right? Now it's just a matter of like pushing buttens, and everything kind of just gets adjusted and you keep printing things.
Speaking of pushing buttons,
I know, Tim. I'm sorry, man. I didn't want you to get mad and leave.
I was super offended. I actually got off because I was looking for some music that I could play in the background that like showed you how good I was.
There you go.
Oh no.
Not at all. Not at all.
You're supposed to be like, actually, it was actually Neo called me, and I just had to help him.
That was Jay-Z, and I was late for a file that he asked me to. Anyway, I'm back.
I was gonna name drop.
By the way, Andy, I don't know. Are you connected up with Hugh Curtis? He just recently moved to.
We just had lunch on Friday.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Butternut Mountain Farm. We did have a question that came in from our new best friend, Randy. In general, when you create a packaging design, do you outsource the engineering or is that part of the scope of design?
So I can jump in because we just did this with Myers. So
hey.
So I sent the yes. So you all, correct me if I'm wrong, but you all can take measurements from like a technical sheet for like a product with the dimensions and everything, and then you come up with a custom box die line for that. Yep. Yeah. And so that's what I do. I say, hey, Greg, can you do this? Yeah, send me over the files. I do it. And then within maybe a week or two, there's a box, die line. And, sometimes there's some back and forth. Like we did, here's something I did with a client in Myers. So we did these we did these little sleeves for these little containers.
Yeah.
And there was some back and forth, but, basically sent samples to Greg. His team took dimensions. They figured out where the little, where the folds are going to be and all that stuff. And then that gave me the space for design. So yeah, the generally, if you there's also the chance that your co-packer or co-man has something on shelf as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. You don't want to invest in a lot of custom stuff if it's not going to run in your production line. So
Right.
Yep. That's a great question. And a lot of packaging companies will have designers on staff. Like we have 4, I believe, designers. We have a whole like design floor. Andy and Kirk, I think we need to have a road trip at some point to Minneapolis. Bring y'all up there, and you can see the.
We can go see our friend Loop there. So that's perfect.
That'd
See
be
what?
awesome. Our friend Loop.
Yeah.
He's a designer. He's a
Total.
designer in
Oh,
Minneapolis.
I was like, is this a joke that I'm supposed to get? Like, you're like our friend Loop. Like you look through to like look at color. I'm like,
oh yeah.
waiting for the
Yes.
the next
Hey,
line. And I got nothing.
so
It's
sis-
an actual. It's your actual friend. You guys have friends.
Yeah. Yes.
That's great news.
I have
Congratulations.
ones or twos of friends.
Yeah.
Tim, did you have anything else for us, man? Did you have any other questions or anything?
I did not. I did
Okay.
not have any other questions. This has been great information, like I said.
All right.
Awesome. Well, appreciate everyone coming on. Kirk and Andy, everyone jumping in here in the comments.
Yeah.
By the way, Andrew Almack is all the way in India. He runs a company called Plastics for Change, which everyone should check out. They have fair trade certified PCR, and it's a really awesome initiative and company that he has down there. So thanks for tuning in, Andrew. And speaking of lingering goodbyes, what Hugh says, we will not linger in our goodbye. Andy, how do people connect with you? And then actually, let's reverse it. Tim, how do people connect with you? And we'll go Tim, Kirk, Andy, and we'll be done.
Well, you can connect with me at tim.drisdom@myers.com, or you can hit me on LinkedIn.
That's
Tim
right.
Drisdom.
Kirk Visola, you can connect with me at Mind the Font or type in Kirk Visola. I'm the only one in the world. And if you see my picture on LinkedIn, that's me. Kirk
Yeah,
Visola.
and buy a freaking hoodie. They're the best.
Oh, yeah. That too.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about that. But
We didn't.
And you can find me at buttermilkcreative.com. And then, Andy Kurtz on LinkedIn.
All right. And I'm Adam Peak. You can find me on TikTok at Packaging Pastor and on LinkedIn. Appreciate everyone. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
all right. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.